Hello and welcome, this is rooflemonger, and we now have the patch notes for Dragon Ball FighterZ and New Balance patch. Now, these are going to be translated by a very smart gentleman here at Great Fernman on Twitter, so thank you very much to him. As of the time of this recording, the English version of the patch notes are not up, but the Japanese ones are. So before we get into the character specifics and system changes, the first, thing that we have here on the patch is just simply this is when the Budokai mode is going to get added. The Christmas stuff will be added but won't be live till December the 5th, and Z Trophy Room will also be added. Now, when it comes to actual generalized system mechanics, here we have a few changes, and in case you're not aware of what's in the greater patch notes, in the end, this isn't a big patch. Like the last balance patch we had was a very large and big deal with like wide changes across a lot of characters. While this one obviously has its changes, it's not as big of a deal as the previous patch was. Just keep that in mind. But first, let's talk about system mechanics. So we have here for Super Dash, the homing dash here. We have a bug fix here for when your character's position, left or right, has affected the trajectory of Super Dash. Once again, this is a translated balance patch notes here. So, but basically, you guys know, like homing dash gets real wonky sometimes. Like. So hopefully all I can say is helps fix like some of the wonkiness we have sometimes. Fix Super Dash not ending immediately when it clashes with another move. That's good. It's another bug fix. Fix Super Dash's trajectory acting strange when the opponent vanishes. Now this one, I'm probably sure you've seen this one any given time during a match where someone will vanish and then they just shoot straight up to the moon. So unfortunately that was always funny when it happened. Maybe not so much funny when it costs you like a punish or something. But that will be now changed. Now, this next change here is for both homing dashes, Z changes, and guard cancel changes. Fix the bug where the character immediately landed after hitting an opponent near the ground. So just a bug fix. That's fantastic. Now, moving on here to Z change and guard cancel change, says here, made the hit stop on block the same as Super Dash. Now, once again, this is translated patch notes. The one thing here, it makes it sound like the block stun would make it the same as Super Dash, and that means it would make guard cancels completely safe on block, which I don't know if I necessarily agree with, but we'll have to see when it comes out here, because it does specifically say on block. If it's just like the hit stop when it hits, sure, whatever, but that's one we'll have to wait for the English patch notes, I guess, because that one looks a bit wonky to me, but we'll see on that one. If you perhaps have greater insight, please post in the comments below. Our next change here, the guard cancel change, says takes the smash property on hit. So, like when you do, like, say, stand heavy, that would be a smash property. Increase recovery on hit, so you recover a bit slower. And increase the untech time on hit, meaning the enemy will be blown back a bit more than they are normally. So it's kind of a sideways change. We'll have to kind of wait and see how that plays out in the end. Honestly, I would prefer more just straight buffs to guard cancels, because you already got to burn a bar on a questionable defensive mechanic. But we'll see where that goes. Now, Z assist here, so aka assist, right? You can no longer call assist in the same situations where you cannot Z change. So for that one, let's go to training mode. So, and here we are now in training mode. So you can no longer call assist in the same situations where you can't Z change. So Z change would just be, tagging in and out, right? So one thing about that is it might be a slight nerf to Vegeta assist, the way a lot of people use it. So a lot of times when you do Vegeta assist, you can just jam on the button and basically the first available frame you're out of block stun, you call them and then do what you're gonna do, right? So it might no longer work that way. So when you're just out of block stun, you are not quite allowed to tag until a couple frames after block stun. It's kind of hard coded in the game. So if it works the way I'm reading it, that means for stuff like Vegeta assist, and any given assist, but Vegeta is one of the more common examples, you won't be able to just kind of jam on the button, just waiting for the gap in the block string, and have the assist come and save you, right? So obviously being nerfed to all assists, but assists like Vegeta where it'd be much more prevalent, where you see something like that, it's kind of a small nerf. Also, there's some talk, and we'll have to wait and see how it actually turns out in the game, but it might be a stealth buff to Gotenks, as if you've seen the tech video where you can call large character assists to kind of blow up the ghost for you before the ghost mix-up happens when he knocks you down, you might not be able to do that the same way you did before. Oh, and hey, there you go, Red Dead patch installed. You might not be able to do that the same way as you did before, right? So you might not be able to, if you had a character that was appropriate, to stop the Gotenks Okazame the same way you could before. So maybe stealth buff for Gotenks, and for people who like using a Vegeta assist, maybe a small knockdown for the Vegeta assist. While we're in training mode here, we'll show off here the Air Dragon Rush has added the head property, which simply means this move never really counted as a true aerial move for the purposes of being anti-aired by things like down heavy. So it is now counted as a true aerial move for moves that have air invincibility built into the move. So say like, uppercut characters, the light uppercut has air invincibility. So now it'll probably be able to invincibly go through an aerial dragon rush. For the rest of our system level changes here, so Vanish, fixed Z changes trajectory becoming weird when being vanished against, as we went over earlier. Ground Dash. So special moves can now be done during the startup of a dash now. So basically, it seems like you can be able to cancel a little earlier in the frames. Dragon Balls. When a character is knocked out, the game will now show how many Dragon Balls there are. Good for people like me who usually sometimes get 7 Dragon Balls and just totally forget about it and don't play around it, because I honestly never look at that counter. And it's been to my detriment sometimes, to be sure. So every time a character is knocked out, I guess I get a quick little flash so y'all know how many Dragon Balls have been currently brought up. For special move inputs here, it says made it so special moves have input priority over reflect when input at specific timing. So basically, if you have a move here that has like a quarter circle back built into it, sometimes in very, very rare situations, the game will like choose the back end special input for reflect over the actual special move you're going for. So it just seems to make that quite a bit easier than it is normally. And our final change here, KO Cinematics. Fixed a bug where the animation continued when killing an opponent with a cinematic move. Alright, so now we'll go to character specifics here. So pretty much everyone has a change in one way, shape, or form. And we'll just go through all of them. Alright, so now let's go into the character-specific changes. Now keep in mind, once again, as I mentioned at the top of the video, this is not an expansive change list like it was at the last patch. The last patch was very extensive, had a lot of changes for a lot of characters. This one's much more small tweaks and stuff. It's not going to be a game changer for a lot of characters, although it's not to say that a lot of characters haven't been affected, but it's not a huge deal as compared to the last patch. But let's start with Goku here. So Goku, he has one change. So quarter circle forward, light and medium, that's the overhead here, has removed the head property, meaning it is just simply no longer counted as an aerial move for the purposes of anti-air invincible move. So before, as we'll just show here, it was quite easy for Goku to get down heavied out of this grounded move. So the grounded version will actually count as a grounded move now. The air version will remain the same, it'll count as an aerial attack, but the grounded version will no longer be flagged as an air move for purposes of like down heavies and that kind of stuff. So Super Saiyan Vegeta, there's one change and one change only. So jumping down heavy will now travel horizontally further. So it'll travel further than it currently does right now. It says there's no change on the frame data, anything like that. So the move will just go a bit further. So it might make, that one Vanish combo a little easier on you guys. But other than that, that's the only change. So Piccolo is definitely a winner of this patch here. So down S, that's his anti-air grab here, which is mostly used for combos, honestly. Decreased startup, so it'll start up faster and has a better hitbox than it did before. So stuff like the Hell Zone corner combos just got a lot easier. His assist. The orb will no longer disappear during cinematics as long as Piccolo is still on the screen. So for some longer cinematics here, for supers, basically means, hey, it's still going to be there, so definitely a buff to the assist. The grounded version of quarter circle forward light will now wall bounce on hit, so you will still kind of have to steal the corner for Piccolo here, and we'll just take off block. But this will now wall bounce, so you can get a full combo off of it, so that's a pretty good buff. The jumping version, this and the EX version as well, so light and EX version will have decreased startup, so it will start up faster. Change the falling speed on hit and increase the untech time, meaning the enemy will be in hit stun longer than they were before. For diagonal down forward and forward S here, we have another buff here. The hitbox has been increased. also knocks the opponent back on hit, so it did leave them standing. So it might be a small nerf to like this kind of stuff here, but we'll have to wait and see. Change the effect on hit, and also this version here now has faster startup. So all in all, Piccolo definitely comes out like a winner to me in this version of the patch. So for Tien Gohan, just like many characters, some fairly short changes here. So 5LL, so that's the second hit here, the one that specifically takes them off the ground. It says here, change the amount of vertical distance gained. Does not say for better or for worse. Increase gen tech time, so the enemy will be in hit stun longer than they currently are right now. And it's added landing recovery frames. So when he does it, he basically can do whatever he wants like right away. So that has changed. For the full auto combo here, so light. The movement speed has changed and changed the effect on hit. Increased untech time, meaning the enemy will be in more hit stun. And made the move head property. So this final kick here does count as a grounded move currently. However, after the patch goes live, this move will count as an aerial move, meaning it is susceptible to moves that are invincible to air moves like your down heavies. And for our final change here, so 2S here, and it says jump S, not jump 2S. Fixed a bug where the Ki Blast would not explode when hitting things like barriers. I'm going to assume that's a translation error and it means jump 2S, the bomb here. But yeah, so just a little bug fix here, so it'll always explode no matter what. So now we have Frieza here. So for the auto combo, it says just fix the bug where the cinematic would play out in an odd way. I've never seen it play out in an odd way, but I guess I never will have the chance now, right? Now here's two questionable ones here. So quarter circle backwards S, that's the pizza slices here, says change the effect on hit if it hits on the way back. So who knows what it is? It doesn't really elaborate. These are fairly key for certain corner combos and certain mid-screen combos if you have the right assist. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. Now also, the OTG level 3, so that's the one that happens when he's on the ground. Change the situation and timings when the super can be done. Increase startup, increase damage. So increased damage is well and good and all, but the move was already not very good. So increased startup is just effectively a nerf. So we'll have to wait and see how the pizza cutter change works out here. But all in all, there's no reason to nerf an already bad move. I imagine increased startup is to change it so there's like certain combinations where you can combo directly into it right as Golden Frieza ends. And those were never a big deal. Like, there's no reason to take that away from them. Like, the damage was already plenty fine. So yeah, I don't agree with that change whatsoever, honestly. So for Captain Ginyu, we have two changes. One, so for the full auto combo here, it's made a combo that it can cancel into standing S moves here during the Z combo. As basically for Ginyu, the animation will kind of play out in full before he kind of goes for like a stand S or anything like that. So it just makes it a little bit easier for like combo possibilities. And also the big one here. One of the issues here with Ginyu is that the second hit of his Zanawa combo is not a true block string in any way, shape, or form. So you are absolutely able to deflect out of it. So the startup has been decreased on the second hit of the auto combo here, meaning it will now be a true block string. For Trunks, we have two changes here, and they're both pretty decent. So for quarter circle forward, light and heavy here, the grounded version only of the sword, remove the head property, meaning this no longer counts as an aerial move while done on the ground, so it is now immune to air invincible moves like down heavy. Now, if the down heavy happens before the move connects, it'll still win, right? But it'll no longer have the invincibility, making these two moves quite a bit more useful. You know, don't spam them, right? But still, it's pretty neat. Also, the level 3. Now, Trunks has one of the cooler looking level 3s, absolutely. But it's always been somewhat questionable use on like stuff like combos and stuff. But now the range has been increased on it, so it makes it a little bit easier to get in combos, and hey, that's pretty nice. For Cell, we have one singular change, and that's to his down S. That's this guy right here. So it has made the initial hitbox larger, and if you're not aware with the move here, it has some trouble sometimes hitting people, as it can very prone to just going over people's heads at closer ranges, so maybe that'll make that a little bit easier. And also it says blows opponent back on hit. Now that one I'm not too sure about, because, you know, it already knocks people back just fine as it currently stands. But maybe it will use up a smash property or something. That one unfortunately will be a wait and see. But yeah, the big change here is just makes it a little bit easier to hit people at the start. So for Cell, that's a small buff. Android 18's changes are all barrier based and they're all buffs across the board here. So for jumping 214S here, Corsical back S, and also for her assist, the barrier size is just going to be bigger, so it'll have a much larger area that'll actually, actively deny moves. So hey, that's pretty handy. And also the raw versions of the move itself for her are now also able to protect assists. So assists will no longer be able to get blown back while they're being in the shadow of the barrier. So Gotenks, I'll interject a little personal opinion here before we go to the balance changes. I think Gotenks is probably going to be the best character in the game now. Not so much because of the changes here, but rather just because everyone else is getting nerfed and he's still the crazy guy he's always been. So he's probably going to be the best character in the game now. So now let's just talk about the buffs and changes here. So 2H, down heavy. Increase hitbox at the bottom of the move on the initial frames. So the move is very wonky and had trouble hitting some characters sometimes, so it's probably just a buff for that. Now moving forward here, so quarter circle back S here, that's the donut. Fixed a bug where the move would act strangely if it hit an assist, so just a bug fix. And level 3 here, recovery until landing on hit. Basically it's just a small nerf to a level 3, but he was never really a level 3 Oki monster to begin with. So that all said, basically everything he has is intact with basically a small little buff to down heavy. So Gotenks is in a very good... He was always in a very good place, right? But now especially he's in a very good place. For Krillin, we have a handful of changes. First up here, bug fix. So jumping down and ki blast here. There was a bug fix where the ki blast would not explode if it hit things like barriers, so that is now fixed. So quarter circle forward attacks here, the after images. So no matter what across the board, doesn't matter light, medium, or EX versions, the untech time, so the time before the enemy can recover, is increased, that is. So this will not change things like, if you already get your sliding knockdown, but for the purposes of combos, using assists and all that kind of stuff, it'll basically put them in longer hit stun, so certain combos that were not possible before may now be possible. And the final change. Solar Flare here, so quarter circle back and S. The recovery of the move here on whiff or block will be increased. So basically it just makes it better as a pressure tool. So, a very common thing with Krillin is hit or block doesn't really matter. Call assist while you're doing a Solar Flare. And now he'll just recover faster so he can do whatever he wants to do quicker than he could before. For Kid Buu, we have two changes here. The first one here is to the pinwheel, quarter circle forward light. And this is the light version specifically, not the medium version. So the startup has been increased. So what does this mean? A lot of moves, if you just go listen to pinwheel, it's like a true block string. And then generally speaking, a lot of people would do this, call the assist, go to the pinwheel, and then they get like, high, low, air dash, like all sort. Like it was basically the kind of mix of pressure they tried the nerf the first time around, and then it turned out it basically still existed in this form. So basically that kind of pressure maybe will be going the way of the dodo, as you probably will be able to reflect in the middle, as I imagine a lot of this will no longer be a true block string with the startup on that increased. Now also, the aerial super here. Increase the untech time if it hits on the way down, meaning the enemy will be in hit stun longer, and made it cross up less often after hitting, so I guess it'll retain the same side, which is decently handy. Basically, these are just buffs to DHCs, like Team Supers, as the enemy will stay in place more often, and sometimes very rarely when you DHC, the enemy, or rather your character, will show up on the cross-up wrong side, which maybe is something you don't want. So in the end, definitely a nerf to Kid Buu. So for Majin Buu, we have two changes here. So stand medium, the pushback has been reduced here. So the enemy will just remain closer, I guess, on hit. So not the biggest change in the world, but I guess it's a net buff for him in the end, as the pushback can be a little annoying sometimes and he won't be able to get certain follow-ups. Now here's the big one here, stand H, this guy right here, the boot. So the startup has decreased, so move will start faster. It says here, change movement speed. Not quite sure what that'll mean in the end here. And the upper hitbox, not hurtbox, hitbox has been reduced. So this is either going to be a buff or a nerf to the corner loop, and I'm not quite sure yet. It all depends on how much faster it is and how much that hitbox got nerfed. If you're not aware about the corner loop, it's this guy right here. And there's a million permutations of it, right? But that's just one of them. And it's very much dependent on that stand heavy. So we'll see where that goes. But could be a nerf, could be a buff. For Nappa, we got 2 changes here. So the planting of the Sidemen, the light and medium versions, Nappa will recover faster than normal, meaning Nappa's going to have a whole lot of new combo routes that were never possible before, now possible. We'll have to wait and see what will open up exactly, depending on how many frames this has been changed. But planting Cyberman is a very big deal for Nappa, obviously, and very much for his combos, and kind of limits his team choices, as he needs very specific assists to be able to plant, and if he's able to recover a little bit quicker, this might open up more assist options. I'm low-key super excited for this change, but I'll have to see the exact numbers before we get to it. And also, too bad here, Quarter Circle Back S. The second hit here, it says the startup has decreased, so meaning the second hit will now connect faster. So 16's getting some nerfs. For someone like me, I don't think they're game-breaking in the end. I am an Android 16 main. It stings, though. It does sting, but it doesn't change the core of what the character does. But it does bring him down a little bit. So first up here, the assist. So the assist will have less block stun than it currently does. It's up there. It's not the most block stun by a stretch, but it is definitely a higher block stun move. So the move will now have less block stun than it currently has. So quarter circle backwards NS. This guy right here, the diagonal one that shoots downwards versus this one here. This has now been made a multi-hitting move. So both these versions are single-hit moves, as you can see. So this one will hit multi-hitting, though. There's no mention if this changes the frame data. This move is plus on block, normally. But I don't know if that's just a cosmetic change, because without frame data changing, that's basically just a cosmetic change. But yeah, we'll find out, I guess. Quarter circle forward, and this now says decrease startup and recovery on whiff decreased. So maybe they're trying to make this a much more useful move here, because it's nebulous use. The backwards one had a lot of use, but this one was of nebulous use. Also, during a lot of moves here, this is able to be reflected, slash, mash through, all that kind of stuff here. So maybe that might make that a true block string. So maybe that is one small silver lining. But yeah, make this one multi-hit without changing the frame data. I guess wait and see. Now here's one of the big ones. The level 3 is getting nerfed. That's this guy right here. I'm sure you've seen him a million times. Maybe not as much as Bardock's, but you're definitely familiar with this one here. First up here, fix the bug where the last hits could be blocked when ultimate Z changing at specific timing. So that's just a bug fix. And the big one here, changes the opponent's distance after hit. So in the corner, I'm going to imagine like a lot of the same setups are going to still work. But the big thing here is when mid-screen, man, you could just do anything you wanted to the opponent mid-screen. And it looks like they're probably going to be knocked back quite a bit further than they are now. Because if it's closer, it'd just be a buff, right? So change the opponent's distance after hit. So I can imagine they might be like a character's pace further back than they are right now. Because, I can still cross you up for free and a million other things. So at the very least, I might only have to worry about, frontal-facing stuff versus also like cross-ups on top of that. So overall, with the assist in the level 3, it's definitely an overall nerf, but it's not a crippling one. He's still an incredibly powerful character. So Yamcha has 2 changes, and they're both buffs. 2, 1, 4, and anything here. So that's your uppercut style move here, and also the air versions. The untech time has increased, meaning the enemy will now be in more hit stun as they're going through it. So basically it just makes like assists and stuff kind of a lot easier to work with here for certain combos. And all Wolf Fang Fist moves, every single one of them, it says here, made it easier to combo into airborne opponents. So if you are, kind of hitting people in the air, I guess, I'm going to assume it applies more of a vacuum effect, sucking people in, so just make it less prone to dropping. So not, game changers, but certainly nice to have. For Tien, we have 2 changes here. First one's for the jumping knee. Now, no one's ever going to dispute Tien's not a good character, but this move is very nebulously useful, let's put it that way. So for the grounded and for the jumping versions here, you will recover faster upon landing. So make it a little more useful. But yeah, that's not necessarily the change the move needs, but still, perhaps it might open up new combos in very edge case situations. Also, level 3. Says here, altered the damage distribution of the follow-ups. So, as it currently stands here, and we'll just turn on our damage settings just so you guys can see. After every hit past the first one, it's always going to do the same fixed amount of damage. So right here it is subject to damage scaling, but it's about 500-ish damage. So it might be that it starts off a little less and moves up more to the end or vice versa, rather in reverse. We have to wait and see. But it could be if it is more severe the further it goes along, without removing the same total damage it could be an effective nerf. Although, if the more damaging ones are up front and does less going onwards, it could be an effective buff. So that one's just a wait and see. So for adult Gohan, these are kind of a pair here. Stand heavy will push the enemy back more on block, and Gohan will not move as far forward himself. And also down heavy, he will not travel up as high, meaning these styles of block strings, and then, you know, you call the assist and you keep going, like that kind of stuff, basically will not be as good. The enemy will be further out, he might not get all the hits on the legs. I'm not going to say the pressure is going to be worthless now, but it's certainly not going to be as devastatingly strong as it currently is. Also, another change here is Potential Unleashed. So, as you can see here, it'll do 1632. This is unscaled. And even if we dump, we have 5 bars right now. If we dump all 5 bars, like, you know, hey, that's not extra 200 damage. Ain't worth it, right? So, it seems here now, the damage will be increased the more bar you dump into the move. So it's definitely a buff and a nerf for Gohan in that regard. And also level 3 here, we have a bug fix here. It says where the opponent would appear in the cinematic. Not sure on the wording on that one, but hey, bug fixes, they're always good. Now, all of Hit's changes, except for a bug fix, seem to be focused on his Punch Rush super here. So let's just talk about this. So for the jumping and grounded versions here, change the time when the Ultimate Z change tag supers are doable. Now, my hope is that means you can choose to not cross up, because that's one of the biggest weaknesses of doing the DHC with this move is you always have to cross up, and that's kind of annoying, because, you know, sometimes you don't want to do it in the corner if you're not going to get a guaranteed kill, because then you're going to lose your positioning, right? And now, also, increase damage and change the effect when hit, on hit rather, when the cinematic does not play. So there are situations where you might not get that whole thing, where it can kind of just like punch through you and doesn't get the whole damage, so in that case the damage will be increased. If you do the grounded version, the hitbox will be increased above, so it's able to hit people above them a lot easier, and that's pretty handy. And the jumping version, changed effect on hit. Don't quite know what that means, not a great translation, but let's just assume it's a buff. And level 3 here, fix the bug where Z change can be done at the same time as supers, so if you're aware of the old hit glitch where you kind of break the game's combo structure, that is now gone. Now, next up we have Goku Blue. 2 changes here. Now, the one's a little odd here. So, it says Quarter Circle back, medium and heavy, and that's the command grabs if you're not aware. Now it says teleports before attacking, increase startup. So, the light versions and the EX versions do have a teleport attack built into them if the command grab portion of the move misses. And the medium does not, as you can see here. But it says now teleports before attacking. He already teleports before attacking if it whiffs. So this might just be a range buff where he might slightly teleport forward and do the move. This one's incredibly unclear. This one I'll have to wait and see what it actually looks like, honestly. Could be a big fundamental change for how his command grab works. Could not. I don't think the language is unclear. It's just I need to visually confirm what this is, as he definitely does not teleport at all during the medium version of the move. He doesn't have the whiff here, and they both, the ones with the whiff, teleport before attacking anyways. And it says the startup is increased. So if they're increasing the base startup of the move, and the medium's already not fast as it is, my interpretation of this is he's going to be moving forward and then do the move. So it could be a buff, hopefully not a nerf. Now for the shoulder tackles here, Quarter Circle forward, light and medium. They did have the ability to reflect basic key blasts. And you'll be able to do that earlier in the move now. Vegeta Blue has 2 changes, and they're both not very big. He has the same horizontal movement buff that Super Saiyan Vegeta has for jumping down and heavy. And his Quarter Circle back, the dunk, now will reflect key blasts earlier than it did before. It didn't do it particularly slow before, although obviously, as you can see, it wasn't frame 1 or nothing, right? But now it'll do it even earlier on in the move, so it is a small buff in that regard. Now, for Beerus, everyone's perennial low-tier favorite, might be moving up the tiers just a little bit. So Quarter Circle back and attack here. That's his slam dunk here, and this is for both the grounded and jumping versions. The startup has decreased, so the move will come out ever so slightly faster, and the movement from when he does the move will also be increased, so the move is just faster and better overall. Quarter circle forward and S. That's the mini ball summon here. The startup has been decreased, meaning it'll happen a lot faster than it currently does, and decreased total duration, meaning basically the move will end faster. So definitely a net buff for the move. Quarter circle back S, that is its invincible reversal. Decreased startup, so the move will happen faster than it currently does. And added an armor property in the middle of the move. Now the move is already invincible, so if it's invincible and then armored later on, that's quite odd. I might choose to interpret that as saying it's going to be more invincible than it currently is. Maybe it's a little translation error, because I've never seen the move be both invincible and armored. But yeah, the move's already invincible, so I'm just choosing to interpret that as it's going to be more invincible yet. Now here's the big one. Level 3, recovery on hit decrease, meaning he will recover faster after the animation plays out than he normally does. So in the corner, there might be all sorts of new level 3 mix-ups, even mid-screen, like maybe you can run forward and like pressure better. So he will recover faster before the enemy after the hard knockdown. So he's definitely going to have more options, regardless of what they may be. He will definitely have more options than he had before when it comes to set play, Okazame, that kind of stuff on knockdown. So yeah, overall, definitely net buff. So Goku Black. We have 2 changes here, and they're both for the supers. So for the Needler super, just increased damage. Awesome, because this was definitely the inferior option, straight up. You kind of never wanted this, like you had to for like tag supers and all that, because that was your only option. But more damage for this not amazing move. Hey, I'll take it. Now the Spirit Bomb here, the grenade. It says here, change effect on hit. Now, they do not elaborate in any way, shape, or form what this is, but what I'm probably reading into this is grenade loop might be going the way of the dodo, because that's the only reason to change effect. The only other thing they might do is change it so it's easier to do so, but I really sincerely doubt they'll do that. But yeah, so this super is a little less jank, which is great. And Holy Light Grenade, probably a nerf, but maybe a buff. We'll see. Android 21 here. So Stan M here. Well, pushback is now decreased. Nebulous to see how this works out here. At the absolute max range, it could be somewhat difficult sometimes to combo into Stan Heavy. So I'm choosing to read that as a buff. You know, as this isn't Street Fighter, you know, you're not looking for pushback on normals necessarily. So I'll choose to read that as a buff. Also, if she manages to absorb a barrier, just much like Android 18, the barrier will be buffed in line with Android 18's changes. And also, the aerial level 3 says recovery on hit decreased, so you'll recover faster from the move after the initial move is played out here. But it says blows back opponent on hit. Now, that one I'm not sure about. So, as you can see here, you're a good distance to like instant air dash and, you know, get some shenanigans on. If the opponent is any further back, the move is just straight up going to be not as good for you know, Okazame purposes, like, you know, wake up, mix up purposes and all that kind of stuff. So this is a mixed bag. So recovering faster is definitely a buff, but if they're any further out than they already currently are, that's definitely a bit of a nerf. So well, that's another case of wait and see. So Bardock, 2 changes here. One, I guess it's a little bit of a buff, but it's not going to be a big of a deal, and one's the big nerf. So, quarter circle back attack here. That's the old spin to win here. Increase the untech time, meaning the enemy will be in hit stun longer. Since it's already, you know, sliding knockdown in most situations when you're going to use it, the big thing is, I guess, in especially long combos, especially for using certain assists. But yeah, that one's nebulously a change of any kind of real merit. But the big one here, level 3. Level 3, increased recovery on hit, meaning he will recover later than he currently does. And change the distance from the opponent, meaning almost certainly the opponent will be placed further back than they currently are. So in the corner, that doesn't change much, but this might finally be an end to the Bardock level 3 mix-up. Or at least, you know, the really oppressive brain dead one we currently have. He'll definitely still be able to mix you up, right? They tried to nerf it before, but the problem is they nerfed the automatic timing version of it. The manual timing version was completely unchanged, so effectively there was no change at all. So this is basically a round 2 of trying to nerf what they tried to nerf in the first place, and we'll see if it actually sticks this time. Before, you know, someone smart just figures a new setup that's just as bad as it always was before. For Broly, there we go. You know, talking about characters I like here. First up here, down heavy, increase the hitbox on the bottom of the move. Broly's hitbox for his down heavy is one of the worst in the game. You know, it looks like it's a really big move, right? But it kind of isn't. It's kind of really jank, actually. So anything to improve the hitbox on the move, I'll take it, because despite what you might think it looks like if you're not a Broly player, it's actually really, really, really bad. So I'll take anything I get, because this move whiffs all the time. Like, it'll go clear through the enemy and it'll completely whiff. So I'll take any kind of hitbox if I can get. And also, various special moves. So this says special moves and not necessarily normals here. It says armor increased, armor starts earlier now. Broly, despite armor being the gimmick, the armor is not very reliable. I'll tell you that the first thing right now. I only count 2 moves as reliable armor. Jump heavy is somewhat reliable, as long as I time it perfectly, and quarter circle forward S. These are the only 2 moves I consistently rely on the armor, because I feel like if I do them in the right situations, they'll work when I want them to work, and anything else is basically a dice roll, honestly. So if the armor starts earlier, because the armor starts on most of his moves much later than you think it does, so it makes it kind of nebulous use. So if it starts earlier now, like, it says special moves specifically, so there's not many options here, but I'll take any kind of armor buffs I can get, because they don't necessarily all work as intended, I think, at the moment. For Vegito, we got 2 changes, and they're both buffs, and one's fairly decent, actually. So jump down heavy is now jump cancelable in combos. So normally you do a combo here, you do that, and that's the end of your combo, pretty much, unless you're going to end with a special. Like, I was jamming on the up button, and you cannot jump cancel it. So now you are able to jump cancel it, and it can potentially open up whole new combo routes for the character. And also, his air dunk special now will just straight up do more damage. And hey, more damage is always a good thing. So small changes, yes, but absolutely a buff for Vegito. So Zamasu, small changes here, but basically it's a net buff overall. So stand M here, increased movement speed. So it doesn't say necessarily the frames are different, but he might move faster forward than he currently does, and that's pretty decent, I guess, for certain combo applications. 236S here, that's the big old blade. It says here, made it easier to follow up on hit here to aerial slices. So one of his main combo routes mid-screen is basically stuff like this, and you see I dropped it already. It's mildly tricky. So it looks like it's going to be easier combo into it, and hey, that's fine by me, right? I don't really think a fairly basic mid-screen combo route should be difficult, so hey, all the better. And for level 3, fixed a bug where the hit effects would look weird in situations. Now, I've actually seen this one glitch out before, where it looked real weird. Most of the other level 3 bug fixes, I've never seen an actual match, but this one I have seen freak out before. So I guess I better treasure the memory, because I don't think I'll ever see it again now. So, base Goku, all the changes are Kaioken based. So first up here, the buffer time you have for between each move here, like when you are allowed to press buttons, the window has basically been relaxed a little bit, so you have a little more breathing time in between button presses. So if you're the kind of person who freaks out when you have these options on the table, it'll just give you just a little bit more room to breathe. Now also, so Kaioken here, the medium follow-up here, that's kind of the leap. There is added invulnerability to the spin now. So it'll be slightly invincible when he's spinning. And the stand S/2S startups here, the startup has been decreased, meaning they will start up faster than they currently do. Maybe it'll add some new routes, we'll find out, but generally speaking, it's all Kaioken based for base Goku, and it is all buffs. For base form Vegeta, we have here 2S and jump 2S, that's down special button here. The recovery has been decreased, meaning these moves now will recover ever so slightly faster than they currently do. That's definitely a buff. This move is a tricky move, sure, and you're going to be using mostly in tricky situations. So any kind of speed buff on the recovery, hey, that's certainly welcome. Now, in reverse compared to the other versions of Vegeta here, his jumping down heavy is being nerfed a little bit, and also buffed, but so the recovery time is faster. It'll recover faster. The active frames, meaning how much this move can actually hit for, is being nerfed, so it'll have less active frames than it currently does. And the horizontal movement, unlike the other two, is being decreased. Now, the one thing here is he actually did move wildly farther than the other two, so I think they're trying to make all three somewhat uniform in this regard. So his will go down while the other two are going up. So coming down to our final two here, Cooler and Android 17, which are the most recent additions to the game. Cooler first here, his assist, so that's his rising knee, that's the assist. Fixed a bug where Cooler would not push the opponent back. So basically there was a bug where if he hit you, you remain perfectly in place. You will not be affected by momentum like you are in basically every move in the game. So that bug is now dead and squashed. And his jumping dive super fixed a bug where the cinematic would look weird when this move killed. I've never seen that one myself, but hey, I guess it's gone now. Now, Android 17, perhaps the most game-changing change of any character in the game. His aerial super here, quarter circle forward air super, fixed a bug where the hit effect would look weird in super situations. So obviously, this fixes all of his problems. He's no longer low tier. No, He's definitely the worst character in the game now, like indisputably, I think. With Beerus moving on up a bit here, yeah, 17. I guess these characters are new, so they don't want to do like balance changes or whatever. But yeah, 17. He's pretty much the single worst character in the game now, that's for sure. And that's it for this video. So this is all based off the translated Japanese notes. Whenever the official English notes become available, please check the pinned post comment on the video, as I'll update it with the English notes. So perhaps some things where the language isn't fully clear, they'll make it a little more clear. But yeah, that's it. So definitely not a giant change. Certain characters, 16 got hit, Bardock got hit, Beerus got some buffs, Piccolo got some buffs. But yeah, it's not a giant sweeping patch like the last one was. And I think that's fine. We definitely got a lot more tournaments coming up here. I want them to leave more severe changes, honestly, to whenever they do Season 2. So yeah, that's it for now anyways. That's it for this video. So thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well. Go out and play some Dragon Ball.